Hi, sweeties. How are you doing? Welcome to Naya Sim, and thank you all so much for all the love and support. Hope you all are doing great. So, this man made this kind of video some month ago, and now he came back again with almost exact the same question. And a lot of people do not find this video funny because some people are very good at gaslighting. And what he did was trying to gaslight black people. And he started by asking, why are black Gen Xers so angry now? And a lot of people were in the comment section trying to answer him and the rest of it. And he went further to say that, back then, I mean, they could sleep at black people's house and black people would sleep in their houses, like on the same couch and all that. This man absolutely knew that he is lying. So somebody dropped a comment, and this person was like, I grew up hearing my daddy tell his glory days stories in the KKK, driving across state lines to harass and attack black communities. We didn't grow up the same. And this is absolutely true, you know. And he did not find that video. Sorry, he did not find the comment section because you absolutely will see him run in the comment section telling them that this is a white liberal looking for a way to justify, some certain things and all that. But one thing I know about rate deceased people is that they will always look for a way. They will always find an excuse to what they say and the rest of it. And he talked about how they listened to Tupac, but Clyde didn't listen to Tupac. I mean, how he listened to Tupac, Snoop Dogg, and all that. Sincerely speaking, he did not listen to anything. You know what? Let's get into this.
Why are black Gen Xers so pissed off nowadays? You guys grew up in the same generation I did. The generation of the 80s and 90s that dealt with the best race relations in the history of this country.
Oh, Clay, you troglodyte translucent yogurt yeti. I see you're from Mississippi, so I know your video is rooted in disingenuousness. But I have time today. Let's get it. Clay, we're not the same. See, I was born in Mississippi also, my birth certificate. And at the time that I was born in 1967, we were still considered Negroes officially. See, I grew up in the shadow of Emmett Till, and in the 80s you're talking about, I was attending the funeral of a friend of mine, Michael Donald, who was lynched and hung in Mobile, Alabama on March the 21st, 1981 by the Klan. In the 90s, I was watching the news coverage on the death of James Byrd in Jasper, Texas, after he had been dragged for miles behind a truck driven by racists. But keep going. You had more to say.
You ain't never seen a Klansman. I ain't never seen a Klansman. What the hell are y'all so mad about? Why are you always claiming that everything is about white supremacy and racism?
Clay, stop it. Stop it. You're white and in Mississippi. You have seen a Klansman. They just don't have to wear their uniform and hood around you. See this picture? This picture was taken by me after I left my home in Gulfport and drove less than 20 minutes up 49 to Stone County. And these Klansmen were getting ready for a meeting on the side of the road. And should we talk about the personal threats I've received from the Klan while working to have the Confederate battle emblem removed from the state flag of Mississippi? What did I have to say about that?
To the United Dixie White Knights of the Ku Klux Klan that found it necessary to send this video, I say to you, this is not your first time at threatening and intimidating those who you think you can threaten and intimidate, but we stand united before you now in the removal of this state flag from this courthouse, this city hall, and all around the state.
Yes, Clay, I have seen Klansmen. Klansmen in that ridiculous outfit they wear with the hoods, and Klansmen who looked in my face and tried to convince me they weren't Klansmen. But continue.
You got a scowl on your face, mad about something. You grew up in the 80s and 90s. Again, just like I did. We grew up with Jordan on our walls, bumping Master P, Dr. Dre, Snoop, Tupac, East Coast, West Coast. Then we took it into the 2000s. We had Cash Money, back that ass up.
And Clay, it's kind of telling that you only talked about black athletes and black entertainment in relationship to how they entertained you. But I noticed you didn't talk about any black lawmakers. See, between 1980 and 1990, there were only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 United States representatives who were black in those decades you're talking about. And notice, these were all black congressmen, not one black senator. And I know we don't want to talk about Mississippi's record of electing black politicians, considering that Robert G. Clark Jr. was the first black man elected to the Mississippi legislature since Reconstruction in the year that I was born. And I also remember Mississippi didn't ratify the 13th Amendment until 2013. Next.
You lived on my couch. I lived on yours. I ate dinner with your family. You ate dinner with mine. We worked together. We lived together. We went to school together. Again, I'm going to ask you, what are you so angry about?
Work together. Sure. And when every factor was taken into consideration, you all still made more than those who had more experience or more education than you all, simply because of the color of your skin. My mother would just make 56 cents for every dollar that a white man made. And my father would only earn about 69 cents for every dollar that a white man made doing the same job. And we went to school together. Yeah, Mississippi just recently stopped having a white homecoming queen and a black homecoming queen and a black homecoming king and a white homecoming king in a lot of these rural area schools. But Mississippi town called Cleveland just desegregated their school in 2017. Clay, here's the reality of the situation. You're just a mediocre white man. You just happen to benefit from a system that was designed for mediocre white men. Clay, I don't need to hear the rest of your rhetoric to know that you're a Trump supporter. You were a Trump supporter before you knew Trump existed, because that's what all you mediocre white men have in common: your racism and your bigotry. Now, you're dismissed. Have the day you deserve.
Why are black Gen Xers so pissed off nowadays? You guys...
Hello, TikTok community. This is Erin Jones, Afro Educator, coming to you on a Thursday evening. I just spent the evening with my son. He paid for a really fabulous dinner. I am in San Marcos, California. I'm speaking at schools here in the district for 8 straight days. And my son just happens to live about 20 minutes away. So I got to have dinner with him. How lovely is that? Anyway, anytime I have looked at TikTok in the last 3 days, and I have not been on here very much because I've been in schools all day, a video has come up that has stitched this video. And until just now, I had not listened to the entire video to figure out that it is really a Trump promotion video. So all I saw was the very beginning clip where he talks about why are black Gen Xers so angry. Now, we were the generation in the 80s and 90s who got along really well, and we had Michael Jordan posters on our walls, and we listened to black music, and we ate at each other's houses, and we hung out together. Okay. I did not grow up in the 80s and 90s. I grew up in the 70s and 80s. I did not grow up in America, so I have a very different experience, but I'm going to share from my perspective why this video is so problematic and what I believe it speaks to right now that I think we need to be paying more attention to. Number one, I think black people are perceived as being more angry right now, when really most black people are just critical. And I don't think critical and angry are the same thing at all. And think about Colin Kaepernick and taking a knee. and how he was perceived and portrayed by the media and by former President Trump for choosing to take a stand about something he was critical of. And like me, Kaepernick believed in, if I'm going to be critical of something, I'm also going to be part of the solution. And that was, he chose to get engaged. But I think he was perceived as not being proud of his country. He was perceived as being angry, when really what I believe he was doing was being critical and saying, we have to do better. I see far too many people accuse folks like me of being angry because we want to bring up issues in this country related to race and racism and systems and structures that continue to oppress people. And because we just mention those things, we are perceived as being angry. I am not an angry person. Like, if this is what angry looks like, I can't imagine how much you have stifled your emotions that you think this is angry. So I think it's interesting that he would talk about, Black people being so angry. I think we're critical. And I think because we have social media, we're able to share the things that we're seeing, and we're able to rally people around issues that continue to be a problem. One of the things he says right at the beginning of his video that I think is hysterical is that Gen Xers grew up in a time when there were no Klansmen. Nobody ever saw a Klansman in a hood. Can I tell you about my first day in America? So he talked about growing up in the 80s and 90s and says that nobody saw a Klansman back then. My first day in America was August of 1989. I came a week early for college to play soccer, so I came for soccer preseason. And we took a taxi from the airport out to Bryn Mawr. Bryn Mawr is right outside of Philadelphia. It's an elite private women's college. I actually got accepted at Princeton, but I chose to go to Bryn Mawr. And I had not visited before because we didn't have money to visit. And so we're driving out to campus. My mom had fallen asleep. She was asleep in the cab. And we get out to the college town. And the very first sign I see after the Bryn Mawr town sign is Lower Merion Country Club. Lower Merion is the county that Bryn Mawr is in. Under that sign, Lower Merion Country Club, it said, no coloreds or Jews allowed here. No coloreds or Jews allowed here, on a sign. Do you know when that sign came down? 2012. So, sir, Mr. Clay, sir, I may not have seen Klans people, but there were enough signs. I was followed in enough stores in Bryn Mawr town, and then in South Bend, Indiana, and in Spokane, Washington. I've been followed enough in the last 30 years that they may not have had hoods on, but it was very clear that this and this were a problem. And I'm not angry about that, but I am going to hold us accountable, and I am going to be critical. And I am going to help people talk about these things. And I'm not going to stay silent. And I don't think silence is a form of love. I don't believe that we can afford to not talk about this stuff. So, in the end, I think it's really easy for white people who grew up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s to say, oh, I love Black people. I love Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson and Stevie Wonder and Michael Jackson. I think it's really easy to love folks that are entertaining you, but to not actually know the stories of Black people and how they're moving through the world. I can't tell you the numbers of people who have attended training with me, DEI training, and they've said to me, but Erin, I grew up and there was this one Black family in our town and we all treated them so well. And I say to them, have you talked to that person about how they actually experienced your town and your school? And most people will say to me, well, no, we're not in touch anymore. First of all, that says a lot. But secondly, I challenge you, go back and ask them, how did they actually experience your town and your school? And when the truth comes out, these people are always shocked. Oh my gosh, I didn't know. Because, especially when we're the one or two in the town, guess what people are taught? You don't talk about the stuff that happens. You don't talk about the times that you're ignored in a restaurant, you're not served. You don't talk about the times when teachers treated you poorly, when people called you names. We learned to just power through, fight through. I can remember my sophomore year. of college when I went to my dean. I was going to declare a major. I wanted to major in English, French, and Spanish. And I spoke Dutch as well, but I wanted to just major in English, French, and Spanish. And I had taken all the AP classes in high school, so I already had 11 credits, 11 college credits coming into college. And I wanted to major in the 3 things that I had the most credit in already. And I'll never forget, my dean looked at me in the face and she said, "You? Are you sure you can do all 3? I think you should pick one." And I remember how deflated and devastated I was. I should just pick one? My transcript would show you that I got 4s and 5s on all my AP exams in all the languages that I spoke. English, French, Spanish. But that day, I allowed my dean to deflate me. And I can't imagine that she did that to my white peers. I don't know for sure, but all of my white friends got to choose whatever major they wanted. I ended up coming back to her a couple months later, and I insisted. I am going to major in English, French, and Spanish. And I did. My degree is in Literatures of the African Diaspora in English, French, and Spanish. But I think about all the little ways and the big ways that my first years in America, my skin color absolutely mattered. And I think about the stories that I have now heard from my husband's family and other Black families that I've had the opportunity to be around for the last 30 plus years. And then I think about what this gentleman says about this man running for office in the current presidential election. And I think about, I am not a Biden fan, but here's what I'll say about Donald Trump. I don't know that I can call Donald Trump a racist. I don't know him. Here's what I do believe. I don't believe he cares about anybody but himself. I don't know that he really hates Black people. I don't know that he really hates immigrants. What I do know, though, is he doesn't care about Black people or immigrants. I don't think he cares about white people either. I think he cares about himself. And so as I think about who I'm going to promote, it for sure will not be him. And it's not because I think he's a racist. I think he doesn't care about anybody, and he for sure does not care about the flourishing of this country. And this man, stitching this video, Mr. Clay, I suspect you don't actually have any real Black friends who can be honest with you. And that makes me sad. But it's why I do the work I do every day. Being critical is part of living. And we gotta love this country better than we are right now. Take care, everybody.
You ain't never seen a Klansman. I ain't never seen a Klansman. What the...
Gen Xer here. I think I can help you. See, when I was in my 20s, I was in the running for a job at a doctor's office in New York. And I really wanted this job because it was perfect. It was easy, and I liked everybody there. I had off-street parking. I mean, my God, off-street parking? Whoa. And here's the thing, is like I was sure I was going to get it because I'd been working there as a temp for some time. And they knew me, they liked me, and they still had to do job interviews. That was part of the practice's internal policy. And I'd been seeing who was coming in, and nobody was better than me, nobody, until one day when a woman walked in. She was dressed very nicely, and she handed me her resume to give to Dr. Green. And as she sat and waited, I looked through her resume, and I was like, "Phew, I'm a goner." I mean, she was perfect for this job. She just was. She had almost identical experience and more at another doctor's office not too far away. And she was very, very well spoken. Everything was perfect about her. She needed to have this job. I had to admit it myself. And she went in, she had an interview. The doctor shook her hand as she left, and I was doomed. Except the next day he comes to my desk and he says to me, he says, "So, Mako, would you like the job?" And I was like, "What? Are you kidding me? Yes, I want the job. I want the job, but I don't understand because I saw that woman's resume. She was perfect. I have no idea why I was saying any of this crap because dumb, but I just blurted it out. And he said, "I don't think my clientele would be comfortable with her. You can have the job if you'd like it." And I was like, not comfortable with her. She was really nice. I still babbling, right? And he stops me and he's looking at me with this look in his eye. You know, the one everyone in the office knew meant that you're really in the doghouse. He's mad. And he says to me, he says, "I don't think my clientele would be comfortable with a black woman sitting behind that desk. Do you want the job or not? Which blew my mind. I mean, this isn't some redneck screaming the N-word out of the back of a pickup truck. This was a doctor, an educated man. And here he was saying that he was not going to give this job to a very qualified woman because she wasn't white. Yeah, that's the catch. She was a black woman. And I was stunned. It just would never have occurred to me. And I just stood there looking at him as he glared at me. He was kind of getting mad that I didn't answer right away. And all I could think to say was, no, I don't want the job. I couldn't believe I was saying that because I had wanted it so bad. But then I couldn't look at him anymore. So I turned around and I walked back to the desk I'd been sitting at. And I knew that come Monday, another woman would be sitting in this chair. It wouldn't be me. It wouldn't be this woman either. It'd be just some other white woman who wasn't quite as qualified. See, the Pe0ple people you're talking about, they're not the problem. Those people we can deal with because they're so over the top horrible. It's people like this doctor and the millions of people who don't quite get it while being perfectly polite to people of color. Does that help you understand just a little bit how much more complex it is than the Pe0ple people? I'm kind of surprised you didn't know this. You seem smart.
Why are black Gen Xers so pissed off nowadays? You guys...
Because we were hoping you'd be different. Turns out you weren't. But you know, our parents may have fought for civil rights, but we were the ones who truly had to implement it. We went to school with you. We've been knowing you since you were kids. And when we were kids, you promised that you would be a different type of person. You promised that when you got older, you were going to make a difference in this world. And we believed you because you were our friends. We went to prom together. My goodness, we fell in love with hip hop together. We even loved your music. It was the MTV generation. Your music was our music. Our music was your music. And we loved everything together. But when you had an opportunity to give us that promotion and give us that job, you acted just like your parents. When you had an opportunity to give us that loan, you acted just like your parents. When you had an opportunity to give us the breaks that we needed in order for things to be a little more equal, you acted just like your parents. And dear God, when Trump came about, you turned into your parents. So yeah, we are the F around and find out generation. And truth be told, somebody needs to let you know, while our parents might not have complained to everyone else, they came home and complained to us. So when you saw that guy, or your parents saw that guy who was shining their shoes, he didn't like your parents. He didn't like the way your parents were treating him. I don't care how nice he was and how he called them by name. No, you turned into exactly what your parents turned into. And that guy was angry and bitter, and we choose not to turn into that. So when Barack Obama became elected, you certainly started to show your true inner hatred. And so, yeah, we're the F around, found out generation. We're going to let you know. You're going to like it.
This is all I got from this video. I don't know that this man is still out there looking for a way to still pass a message across or something, because I remember him making videos about some month ago and also talking about Gen X, black people and all that. It looks like some of them absolutely do not have anything to say, and the best they can do is look for a way to pander around and the rest of it. Now, let me say this. All the time black people are speaking in parable, because it looks like you all do not want to understand how life has been for black people. I know you all know about it, but you still choose to lie about it. But it's your problem, not our problem, right? I love the fact that black people are not closing their mouth over the racism that is going on and is happening in their community. That is something I love about them. They are very bold enough to speak on it, talk about it, sing about it, drum about it, right? Like he is saying, Gen X are very angry, and they are like, where is the racism that they always talk about? The racism is right beside you, and you all are the ones always dishing it out, and you know that is where you are. That is what you people know how to do best. So looking for a way and looking for dancing around to ask some silly questions or say some silly things because they feel like, I mean, sometimes I feel like, does it mean that they don't know what they are doing, or they just want to pander around, or they just want to raise bait and all that? But the truth is that a majority of them know what they are doing. That is how their heart is. And sometimes that's one thing I have learned from you people. When people tell you who they are, do not make excuses for them. So I do not make excuses for them anymore. I believe them because that is their heart. That is what they have to tell you. And they are voicing it out. Sometimes we absolutely say it like it's a rape bait and all that. But they are not. They probably want to rape bait, but that is them telling you their heart. That is how they feel about you, right? I mean, you all danced around hip hop, Snoop Dogg, and all that, slept in each other's couch and all that. And that was how many years ago that you all slept in each other. Now you all, some of them have grown to become like their ancestors or become like their grandparents. Most of the things their grandparents did is something that they took after them, and they are doing the same thing. Because if not, who are the people stopping people or chasing people down at sundown towns and all that? Absolutely, they are human beings. So I am no longer making excuses, and whatever you tell me you are is something that I absolutely will believe. That makes sense. They keep saying, but you all know that in your towns, I am sure that at anything, sum all that up. See you all in my next video. Bye for now.